Hello friends, good morning, welcome back. This time I wanted to take a look at something that I've been very excited about. It's a little bit later than I wanted, but this arrived in the mail. Beautiful. You're beautiful. So, as you may know, the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass came out with a handful of N64 games, and because the N64 controller, a little weird, button mapping wise, especially if you're playing it on a Switch controller, thought we'd open it up and take a look and see how it runs, how it compares to playing on an actual N64, how it compares to playing N64 games on the Switch controller, and I thought it might be fun to try it out playing a few Switch games with the N64 controller as well, just to see if, if it works. So let's hop into opening this bad boy up. All right, so here we are. So let's open this bad boy up here. Now, one thing that I appreciated, and I talked about this with the Metroid unboxing I did, was that Nintendo would sometimes put like a little sticker to seal these boxes. They did not do that with this. So this is gonna be a little awkward while I open this one-handed here, because I don't have one of those fancy stands. But they did not do that with this controller, which I appreciate because I can keep the box in pretty good condition. Okay, now this just slides on out. This little plastic piece was just loose over top of this in here, which is kind of weird. This comes out, and the cord, charging cable basically, which I've got a bunch of these USB-C cables, to be honest. But sure, here it is out of the plastic next to an original N64 controller. Now as you can see, obviously the button mapping is the same, but even the feeling of the plastic and the thumbstick. Now this controller specifically is one that's not very used, so it's still got some spring to the thumbstick, which is why I chose, another reason I chose this one to compare, versus some of my controllers that have a little more flimsy thumbstick. But this feels accurate, it feels very right. The only thing that's weird is the sheen in the Nintendo logo, which I feel like probably the originals had a bit of sheen to it, a bit of reflectiveness to it, but maybe a lot of these old controllers I have are just more worn out. See, this one doesn't really. I mean, it's in pretty clean condition, so that's a pretty minor detail. The engraving on the buttons is perfect. The C buttons, the only thing is, yeah, everything's just a little shinier, but that's probably just because it's new. But I almost feel like they use the exact same moldings and everything. Now, there's a couple differences, obviously, and that's some of the buttons. So Z at the bottom, or Z for my American friends, is still there. But it's essentially the equivalent to the ZL or ZL button on the Switch Pro controller. Basically just being your left trigger, because when you hold the controller, it sits comfortably there, right? But they've added a couple of buttons up here. So there's the home button, the screenshot button, the button to pair the controller, and ZR or ZR if you're American. That's just to basically add in the extra buttons that this controller is missing. The only thing is, it still does not have an X and Y button. So basically, the C buttons are the right stick, and X and Y are nowhere to be seen. There's also, I don't think, a minus button, which would be select. So that does make me wonder how it'll be if we try playing some games on this controller, but we'll test it out, we'll see how it goes. But otherwise, like comparing it to this controller, yeah, it feels like this is the original, and it feels exactly like that, except without the cable. It feels a little lighter than the N64 controller, but I wonder if that extra weight was just the cable. And also, like, this is filled in, there's no gap in here, you can't plug anything into there. Other than that though, yeah, this feels very, very right. The buttons are just the right amount of mushiness, you know? Now, I played already StarFox 64 start to finish and a bit of Yoshi Story on the Switch Pro controller on Switch Online. And the button mapping was a little weird for StarFox, just because of the C buttons, but it worked fine, I suppose. The Yoshi Story was perfect, it was just fine. But let's try some other games out. I'm going to try some games using this controller and this controller, and we'll see how they compare, basically. So first thing we're gonna do is pair the controller. There we go. Ooh. Now this had rumble. This rumbled. So it's got the rumble built in without a rumble pack. Let's load into these N64 games. Let's try this out. Bling! What? It wasn't making these sounds before. Maybe it... Oh, wait. Is it because I'm using the controller? Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Alright, so let's try StarFox here. Let's try versus mode. And the reason for that is that I've got both these controllers. We can kind of directly compare. 3-point match, Corneria. So I'm going to awkwardly be swapping between these two controllers. So on the N64 controller, everything is as it should be, honestly. Let's see. We can barrel roll with R and Z. We can boost. We can brake. We can try a somersault. Perfect. U-turn. Everything feels right. Everything feels really good, actually, for StarFox. So that's great. There we go. Yeah, I gotta say this works. it's StarFox. It's StarFox 64 on the N64 controller. Button mapping is perfect. No issues there. Now the one here, we're gonna switch over to player 2. The one that might be a bit more problematic. I'm actually kind of surprised that Peppy here hasn't crashed into anything. And I've already tried this on the Switch controller, and I'll tell you, it's a little weird. X and Y are mapped to left and down C buttons, respectively. So use X and Y to boost and brake. Okay, there's a couple things I find a little awkward about this. So on the N64 controller, R tilts you right, Z tilts you left, and those are essentially both your index fingers. Feels pretty natural. So you can do barrel roll in either direction with those tilts. On the Switch Pro controller, ZL takes the place of just the regular Z button, but ZR does not fill in for R. So you have to use R instead. So it's like the trigger and the bumper. Oh, frick! Fox crashed. Okay, sorry about that. Rumble on the desk there. So that's a bit awkward. Another thing that's a little awkward, this won't be an issue if you're just playing with one or the other because your muscle memory will adapt, right? It's a little weird switching between the two because when you're resting your thumb with the N64 controller, it sort of naturally falls over the A and B button. And A is sort of your lower button, and B is sort of your upper button, if that makes any sense. On the Switch controller, it's the opposite. B is lower than A. So my muscle memory, just going from this controller to this one, wants to use Y as B and B as A, which means I just launched a bomb needlessly instead of firing my laser. So it's a little weird that way, but it works, honestly. ZR and ZL and R thing, that's the most awkward part of this. Everything else, I would say, works fine for StarFox. So, okay, that's fine. There's just a little bit of awkwardness with those two buttons, otherwise it's fine. StarFox is good. That was an easy comparison because of that had a 2-player mode. Alright, now this is actually my first time booting up Ocarina of Time on here. So we'll see how it goes. One thing, I'm not going to touch too much on the emulation thing. People are talking that point to death. Oh, frick, I forgot about this long intro where the Deku Tree's talking a bunch. Yo, I know. Alright, so I mean, everything's fine. This is pretty much what you'd expect from Ocarina of Time using an N64 controller, controller-wise. Again, I'm not going to really get into the emulation too much because that's a whole nother talking point. And really, I just want to look at how the controller itself, how this peripheral, how this accessory works, right? That's kind of my intention today. I got no complaints with the controller. It feels good to use, actually. Right where I remember it, you know? It's fine. It's fine. Ooh, reflective, very shiny. All right, so what's gonna happen if we go to the home menu for a sec here and we switch to this Pro controller? So, let's see here. Again, I mean, feels pretty much the same. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is the C buttons not being mapped properly. I mean, we've got the right stick, but I hate using the right stick as C buttons. It's awkward going either way. You know what? Actually, pulling off the quick spin is pretty good on the Pro Controller. I kind of see what people are talking about with the input lag. I notice it more on the Pro Controller than I did on the N64 Controller, which is kind of weird. But you know what? I feel like it's so minuscule. Like, maybe this is just me, but I feel like that input lag is so minuscule that I'm only noticing it because people pointed it out to me. And I feel like if no one pointed it out to me, I probably wouldn't have noticed. And maybe I'm just not as sensitive to these things? Maybe that's just me, I don't know. This is all normal stuff here. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I just need a few more rupees to get that, to get the shield here. I always find it funny that some of these N64 things, they just like make them so highly reflective, like so unnecessarily reflective. You know what I mean? Yeah, like the rupees there. Alright, we got enough money to buy the shield, so... Alright, let's buy this. Thank you. Oh, shoot. The text speed in this game. I always forget about the text speed in this game being absurdly slow. The text speed is so slow. I cannot mash through it. This is my one and only complaint with Ocarina of Time. The text speed is too slow. That's it. That's my only complaint. Alright. So here's what I'm most interested to try. Now that we've got an item we can map. Left C is Y. Down C is X. There's no way to, other than using the right stick, to map to right C. So if you want to use right C, you gotta flick the right stick. This is awkward. It's awkward. X and Y work just fine. But it's weird because, okay, even the GameCube release of Ocarina of Time at least mapped that right C button to where the Z button was on GameCube, which would be R here. So, if it were up to me, what I would have done for the button mapping, instead of this, X and Y would be fine, but for right C, I would have made that R and changed the N64's R to ZR. Or ZR, for my American friends. Problem solved. Then all your buttons are accounted for this game, specifically. Otherwise, yeah, using the right stick, no way. It's a no from me. Let's try Animal Crossing out. Let's see how we do with some Animal Crossing. It might be a gong show, because I can't do certain actions. But we'll see. Hi, Isabel. Okay, hold on. She's gonna talk. So, I think the main issue here, part of it, is the D-pad is a little awkward to hit. But, you know, let's see. So far we can answer some mail. Now, I don't have an X or Y button, so I can use the C buttons to adjust the camera. But that's it. I can't even open my inventory. Let's see, I can use the D-pad awkwardly. So I can still use A and B to, like, run. But see, I can't I can't use Y to pick up the weeds. So that's a problem. Let's see, we can still talk to some villagers though. Good morning, Poppy. Hopefully it'll be a good day. You're right. There's a lot of buttons missing, so there's not much we can actually really do here because we can't use our inventory or pick up items. I could pick up weeds this way. That's the only way. Using the shovel is the only way. Alright, so that's it. Animal Crossing technically works, but not properly. You're not going to get the full experience. Oh, you can at least chat. Or use, because they added ZR, you can do reactions still. So, that's something. I want the balloon, actually, real quick. So I can still pop the balloon, but I can't pick up the contents of the balloon. Yeah, that's not gonna work. So okay, here's what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hit the home button, and we're gonna go to controllers here. There we go, now I can pick this up. Ah, phew. It's money. Alright, there we go. There we go. Can't open inventory, because that's on X. Can't pick things up, because that's on Y. Cannot save and quit, technically, because that's on minus. So there we go. Next thing I want to try, let's try Metroid Dread out. Let's see what happens if we try and play this using the N64 controller. Let's see what happens. Probably nothing good. Alright, so this is my existing save file, or one of. So we're gonna run into a problem right away, in that I can jump and I can use flash shift, but I cannot shoot or melee counter because that's on X and Y. I can morph ball still though. I guess since I've got screw attack, that's probably fine, except that I can't open any doors. Now here's what's awkward: to free aim, you've got to hold L, which is over here, and then use the awkwardly reach to the thumbstick. Oh, that's not good. Pretty much you're stuck. Now, here's some food for thought. What we could try and do, I've just realized, I just remembered, is we can change button mapping. Cannot remap? Okay, well, no we can't, I guess. You cannot remap the buttons. Are you kidding me? I was thinking, what if we change the button mapping to include maybe use some of the C buttons as X and Y, and then we can use them. No. Nope. Nintendo dashing away my hopes and dreams. So Metroid Dread, that's a no-go. Let's try some other games out. Let's try out Breath of the Wild. Now I think the first problem we're gonna run into on Breath of the Wild is the same as Metroid, is that Y is my sword button. Now, we can throw swords. Now, the only thing is, there's no gyro. So you have to use the C buttons to turn the camera in the 4 directions. In order to do it diagonally, you have to, like, press 2 C buttons at once. So that's interesting. We can still dash. And A is still the button to interact with things, I'm assuming. Yeah, see, that still works fine. Wow, I can't jump either, because that's on X. I was thinking, but you know what, the ZR button is here. So we can still use our bow, which is very awkward to aim with using the C buttons, but it technically works. It technically works. It is just extremely awkward. So if you wanted to do a bow-only run of Breath of the Wild, I suppose you could. Okay, so in order to change, let's say, weapon types, like a bow type, is going to be really awkward. You have to hold ZR and then use the D-pad. But then because you don't have the right stick, you're going to have to click L and R. Oh, so this is especially awkward. Oh no, this is especially awkward. It technically works, sort of. If you want to only be able to throw your swords and only use bows, but very awkwardly, then yes, I suppose Breath of the Wild technically does work with the N64 controller. I just do not recommend it. Like, unless you really want to just torture yourself, I'm going to say this does not get my recommendation gaming experience-wise. But we can still go into our inventory, but there's no minus, so you can't open your map either. But you can also change weapon types this way. But you can't use the right stick to quick scroll through things, so you gotta just do it the slower way. Yeah, so that's that's not a good time. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I mean, it's gonna work better than Metroid because you can still defend yourself or fight in some way. Let's try out Skyward Sword HD on the Switch. Now, this one might be a little more fun. Maybe. We'll see. Let's go into Faron Woods here. Let's just go for a little walk into Faron Woods where there's some baddies. We can sprint just fine. A button doesn't do much. I'm trying to remember the button controls. But here's the thing. The C buttons are the right stick as far as the game is concerned. Which means this is how we're going to do our directional sword slashes. But I cannot click in the right stick to stab. And I cannot click in the left stick to shield bash. Well, there's actually some puzzles that I think would be extremely hard. I suppose this is how Link in A Link to the Past fights. This is all he does. All of his attacks are just this, right? Let's see. That's to change. Oh, see, the ZR button is so awkward. It's so awkward to aim with the C buttons. It's but it does work technically. No, not that one, I suppose. It's a little counterintuitive. Oh, not what I meant to do. Yeah, so I can't shield bash. I can't deflect these. But I can use the bow at least. So, it's just awkward. The good news is that charging a Skyward Strike is much easier because you can just hold the up C button. So that's way easier than motion controls. Let's see if we can kill this Deku Baba successfully. Like, actually that works pretty well. You know? Like, you're not gonna have any concerns like drift or anything like that, or any misread motions. So there's not gonna be any misfires or anything like that. So that's some good news. Hold on, I have to use the C buttons for this too. It's a little counterintuitive. I keep having to like think about what I'm doing, you know? Like my muscle memory just it's not there. So in order to use free camera controller, you have to hold L and use the right stick normally. So with the N64 controller, because of where L is, oh, that is just pitifully awkward. Oh, not the hornets. Oh no! Okay. Hold on, I gotta get my freaking net. This is not natural. That's not how you naturally move there, Link. So the sword play is actually not bad. It's just, you know what, even just pressing 2 C buttons simultaneously to go diagonal isn't terribly bad. It's just everything else is a little awkward. But I suppose the lack of free camera control is not unlike the original Skyward Sword on Wii. Hang on, I gotta aim. Ah, frick, I pressed B. Hold on. Dang Octo. Yeah, this is bad. Yeah, so we got some baddies here. There's a Skulltula. Oh no. How am I gonna pull that off? Jeepers. Okay, can work. Okay, hold on. We just gotta flip him over. So normally you're supposed to do this sort of motion that's like up, down, up, down, up, down to sort of do the fatal blow. Which means like awkwardly like doing this little crab claw tap thing. I wonder, actually, knowing that. Okay, hold on, let's deal with this guy. you know, knowing that. Can we try pulling off the spin attack that way? Here, I'm gonna do it two-handed. You gotta do this little. So things like that work better with the stick for sure. Okay, let's try this guy. Hey, buddy. Just can you turn around? Not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah, Skyward Sword, awkward, but not the worst. There's more you could do with Skyward Sword than Breath of the Wild, because you can at least use your sword. And so I'd say that was okay. That worked okay. One more Switch game I want to try out here is Smash Ultimate. I'll just go into training mode here so we can just try out the controls. Let's see how I do with... Samus, who's one of my main fighters. We'll just see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. Alright, so we have our A for our main attacks, B for our specials. So we're off to a good start actually for Smash. But see now, because the C buttons are the right stick, those are now smash attacks. So you shield, grab with R, Z is ZL or ZR is shield, right? And okay, so we don't have X or Y to jump, and those C sticks or the C buttons don't jump, which is actually how you would jump in the N64 Smash. But you can still tap up on the stick to jump. So, actually, I would say, let's see, and the D-pad is the taunt. I would say that this game has the most potential to play using this controller, because there's no... It feels like there's no combo that's, or no button inputs that are missing. Everything's accounted for, really. I don't tend to jump using the stick, like to tilt up to jump. I would much rather use a button input. But unlike other games we've tested, where there's just buttons that don't exist and there's completely missing functionality, this is completely doable. So that's actually a little surprising, but we can take this a step further, I think. Because, if I recall correctly, let's double check that I'm remembering this right first. Wait, maybe it's under options? Controls. The Switch itself would not let us button map, but Smash has a built-in button mapping option. So let's see. It's not sideways Joy-Con we're on. Yeah, it says in use. This is what... So I guess this is etc. So hold on. Let's see for jump. So for this, let's change this to jump. The right stick. And that'll map it to the C buttons then. Let's see how this goes now. Yep, there it is. Now with the C buttons we can jump. So this is just like Smash on the 64. If your Smash attacks, you can still do a directional input and A at the same time to pull that off. So this works perfectly. Smash wins. Smash is the best Switch game to use with the N64 controller, and it feels great. It actually feels good. It's just like Smash on the 64. Yeah, you know what? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It feels just like I remember. So this is great. Again, because the Switch does not allow button mapping on this, but Smash has its own button mapping options. So you could just change the jump function here, and you're good. So that's kind of surprising, but also kind of not, I guess. Smash is the most complete experience using this controller compared to those other games. So that's kind of great to know. That's kind of hilarious at the same time. So folks, there you have it. Just a little bit of fun messing around, playing some Switch games with the N64 controller and some N64 games with the Switch controller. So I think that overall, if you're gonna play N64 games that are on the Switch Online app, that, I mean, this controller is gonna be your better bet. And the main reason for that is just the translation from 6 to 4 face buttons, from 4 of these face buttons to a thumbstick, and the bumpers and triggers. That all is a little awkward on this controller. A lot of it doesn't feel right. If you're gonna try playing Switch games, stick to the Switch controller. Obviously, games were designed around this, but you can have some fun if you like to torture yourself or just do weird, nonsensical things. You can certainly have some fun with this controller. Smash works just fine, no problems with Smash, but most other games you're gonna be limited in either what you can do or how you can do those things, and it's just gonna feel janky and awkward. But it's fun at least. So, like, this controller is not like known for being like well designed, but I have a very nostalgic soft spot for this controller. You know, I hope that this little video was a little fun for you guys. That's mainly the point of this. Because some people have been asking me where to buy these controllers. No, you cannot buy them at Best Buy or Walmart or whatever. No retailers have them. You have to have a Switch membership and you have to order it through Nintendo directly if you want one of these bad boys. And that's assuming they're in stock. So I actually got mine a little later because it was out of stock, and then it briefly came back in stock, and I bought it, and an hour later it was out of stock again. So you kind of have to just be mindful of it and checking it constantly. But I'm sure it'll come back into stock sometime soon, or at the very least it'll stop selling out after a little while. You know what I mean? Like when the demand settles. But overall, I think that for these N64 games, they just don't feel translated well, and they don't make the most use of this controller, and I feel like that could have been done better. There are ways to map these buttons fine. If you look at Super Mario 64 in the 3D All-Stars pack, they mapped the buttons, they changed the button mapping to fit this controller. And I don't feel like they did that for the Switch Online service as well as they could have. Some games work fine, StarFox is fine, but a little weird, a little awkward, but it works. Ocarina of Time, a little awkward though. It's different controller, different button layouts, so not everything's going to be perfectly translated. But anyways, guys, that's all for me. I've rambled enough. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did or didn't. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. That's all from me for now. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching this video. I just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to the lovely people who supported me on Patreon, as well as my channel members, particularly those who supported at the cheese level or higher, which includes Tetra, Brenda, Justin, Callie, Finley, Greymage, Hylian Historian, Gale, and Ethan3G. Thank you so much for the support, you guys, and I will catch you all next time. Bye-bye.